Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to talk a little bit today about a challenge that I've been having in my Tiffin GH1. And this really applies to any other van or RV, the trim, but often what we want is, especially those that have fur babies, we want to know what the temperature is inside the van at any given point in time, especially when we're not there. We also want to see what's going on with our pets as well, and there are solutions out there for this that you can purchase and use their system and pay a subscription fee to keep that going. I think Waggle's one of them that I had looked at. There's a few others, but I really like to build my own and not be tied to a particular ecosystem when it comes to how I access that information and so forth. And today I want to share with you a piece of the puzzle that I have figured out. And with our Tiffin GH1s, we have Victron system in it and Cerbo GX. And that has Bluetooth capability built into it. And I'm going to walk you through a few things that you'll need to do in order to get this set up and going. But the ultimate goal is to tie in sensors, not only for temperature, but we're going to bring in humidity, we're going to bring in barometric pressure, we're going to bring in motion to the mix here as well. And it's going to all be displayed in our Cerbo GX display, also available via VRM or Victron Remote Management Portal if you have that connected to the internet. So if you have like a Starlink or a WeBoost or something like that that allows you internet access and ties your system into that, you'd be able to access that remotely at any given time and not have to use a cloud service. Essentially, you're creating your own service here. We're going to be using sensors that are from Ruuvi, R-U-U-V-I, and I'll put links in the description below as well so you can check everything out. But let's dive in, and I'm going to walk you through. I'm actually sitting in front of my computer that's connected to the VRM on a van that's sitting out in the driveway right now. So let's take a look at a few things that we need to set up. Okay, so we're now in the remote console here within VRM, just like it would look on your display inside of the van. This may look slightly different for you if yours is white background with green and blue and red squares on it. Don't fret, it's the same thing. I just got a later version of the firmware here for the Cerbo GX, so it looks a little bit different in that regard. But this is the normal display, and you'll see that nothing new is really showing up here. And also, by the way, if you do not have a solar controller, an MPPT, in your van, that would be if you had a one-up package in your van, you would already have that. You would not see this box over here with the solar yield on it. So first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that Bluetooth is configured in the Cerbo GX so that we can detect the sensors that we're going to be using. So I'm going to activate the screen here, and we're going to go over to settings. And you'll see in the connectivity section here that you have Bluetooth, and it may or may not be enabled. What this allows you to do is to enable Bluetooth capabilities, and your Cerbo GX does have built-in Bluetooth capability, but we're going to come back to that in just a minute, and we're going to make that a lot better than what it is. And then you can set a PIN code, and what this PIN code is for is when you have a Bluetooth device that you're trying to connect to it, you often would have to pair that device to your unit. And if it's a device that will do a pairing of a pin that you put in, that would be what this pin is. And I've got mine starred out here to protect that pin, so that nobody can just come up and pair something to my system that I don't want to be paired to it. But that's what that's for. So that's really all that you would need to do to get Bluetooth capability within your Cerbo GX. So let's go back to the main settings screen. And I have already paired the devices to it, but the way that that would be done is you can come into integrations here, and you'll see that you have Bluetooth sensors here. Now, if you do not see Bluetooth sensors here, chances are the firmware for your Cerbo GX is an older version. I believe it needs to be at least version 2.8.0 in order to be able to see Bluetooth sensors. That's when they brought out that capability there. So when you go to Bluetooth sensors, now when we go in here for me, we're going to already see my Ruuvi tags in here. But if I have not paired them with it, then they would not show up here just yet. So you'll want to make sure that this is enabled. This may be disabled by default for you. And I don't recommend using continuous scanning. That being said, if you don't have any devices that are already showing up here, you won't be able to toggle that anyway. So you may be tempted to do continuous scanning, but that does utilize a little bit more chattiness, and it's not necessary to detect the devices. And then once this is enabled, you will just have really these three items here on your page until you actually enable your Ruuvi tags by pulling out there's like a strip in it, kind of like that protects batteries, you know, from making connectivity while the product is waiting to be sold. And then you pull the strip out to allow that battery contact in there and power it on. And it's the same thing with the Ruuvi tags. They have those strips so that the battery will stay charged up until the consumer has bought it and is ready to use it. So we undone the, pulled out the strip, and these will just show up in here. Now, let's get into one of the problems that I ran into right from the beginning when I tried to do this. I thought it was going to be straightforward and that those would just show up. They were not showing up. Even though I had this enabled and Bluetooth enabled in general, they were not showing up at all. And I fought that for a while and couldn't really figure that out until I decided, now I have the adventure bar in my van. So I took the drawer out, the one that's facing the driver's seat at the bottom of the adventure bar, right where your footstool is or foot platform is. I took that drawer out, and for those that don't know how to take that drawer out, there are in the slide rails for the drawer, there are two like levers, if you will, on the inside or outside of the tracks, and one side goes up. You just kind of flip that lever up, and the other side goes down. You have to flip the lever down so they're opposite on each side. But once you figure that out, that will release it off of the track, and you'll be able to slide the inner track of the door out of the outer track that goes in there. So that is how you would take the drawer out. But the reason I took the drawer out is because that compartment is where several things are in there. Your aqua hot is at the back of the adventure bar in there, and you do have an access door where your table, like lagoon table, and your storage tables are storage platforms for the wet bath. In that compartment there is one little platform that has a single screw in it, and you can take that platform, that cover off, and that is where you would fill your aqua hot with glycol. But the other things that are in there are your Cerbo GX and a few other electronics, the backside of the fuse or the breaker panel in there, and there's another fuse panel in there as well. But that'll be on the left-hand side. So if you're looking in the drawer compartment, you look in and look to the left, and you'll see it in a video here in just a moment. You look over to the left, and the Cerbo GX is mounted up on the top of that bottom compartment of the adventure bar. So that's in there, as well as if you do have a solar controller, an MPPT controller, that'll probably be mounted somewhere in there as well. Mine is mounted on the right-hand side of the compartment there, kind of on the outside wall of the van. But what I realized when I saw the Cerbo GX in there, it was great to see, and I do recommend that everybody take time to look and see where familiarize yourself with where components are. But looking at, it's real dark in there, so even with a light, it's really hard to see everything that you need to see. So you kind of have to light the area. I used a small battery-powered light in there just to light the room up, if you will, the compartment up, if you will, and did that so that I can see things, but even then it was kind of hard to see. So with the lit, I was able to use my phone and just take pictures of the different sides of the Cerbo GX just to see what's connected in and what's being used, what's not being used. In doing so, and then comparing with images online of the device itself and trying to see where things should be, I noticed that there is a light for Bluetooth on there, and that was not on in my case. It was not on at all. So I was like, well, that's interesting. That would also explain why some of my attempts at doing some other Bluetooth related things, like seeing other devices that are on the network and that kind of thing, or on the Victron Energy network, the VE network, wasn't showing up. So I was like, okay, so this Bluetooth is flaky. And sure enough, I went and started looking online a bit and determined that it's not the best, especially when you have a later version of the firmware. The device gets hotter, it's doing more things, and especially in a compartment like that, it's going to get hot enough to where that Bluetooth that's built into it, which is not great, by the way, is just not going to be able to sustain or be stable in any shape, form, or fashion with that. So what should you do? You're probably thinking like I was, wow, it's got built-in Bluetooth. Why doesn't it work? Okay, maybe I can cool down the compartment, where it's at. And I was like, that's a bigger proposition, right? To have to cool that down. So I was looking for simple solutions for this and discovered that, there are USB ports on the Cerbo GX. So I got to think, I'm wondering if I can use a Bluetooth adapter that's a USB, kind of like a dongle, if you will. And then I found that Victron actually sells a Bluetooth dongle as well for this very purpose. It's kind of expensive, and the form factor on it was, more geared towards installs like this. But I was like, there's probably a better option. So that's when I did a little bit of research and found a really good solution. I thought it would work. I hoped it would work, and I decided to just take the risk and see. So let me flip over to that, and I'm on Amazon here, but this is one made by TP-Link, and it is a TP-Link USB Bluetooth adapter using Bluetooth 5.3. So you can see here from the image, it has a USB port. It has an antenna on it. Now, why in the world would you want an antenna? By the way, they have a version that does not have the antenna, and you can use that. That will work as well, because I actually bought both and tested them both out and ultimately decided to go with an antenna. Why? Well, because that increases your range and stability of connection for all your Bluetooth devices. And what I think you'll find out, especially in the case of the built-in Bluetooth, that the range isn't that great. So have you ever used the Victron Connect app on your mobile phone to connect with the Cerbo GX? You got to be pretty close or inside the van in order for that to really work. And how often are you just a few feet away from the van and you see it drop the connection and so forth? Well, this is one of the reasons why. So I went with an antenna version, and it's very small. You can see here that the size of this is quite manageable. and I thought it would work in there. The only thing that I was a little concerned about was the Cerbo GX is upside down essentially, or mounted on the top of the compartment in there, and wasn't sure how the antenna was going to work. But good news is that antenna is 180 degree capable of going left and right, and also 90 degrees on the other direction, just in and out from the from where the port is, the USB port. So I felt like that was going to be workable in this situation, and so I ordered it, and I ordered one without the antenna, and ended up sending the one without the antenna back, and because it was not used, it worked just fine, but I wanted the extended range of Bluetooth there, and to be able to support more modern Bluetooth devices with 5.3. So yeah, right now it's a limited time deal of $17.99, so that's hard to beat compared to the way more expensive version from Victron, and I don't think it's quite as good as this one. Don't quote me on that, but that was just my quick look at the specs. So what did we do? We went in, we plugged this in there, and I angled in my case, the antenna down, and you'll see it in this video that I'm getting ready to share here. So we'll come back to that video in a moment. Skip back over to the remote console here. So once I was plugged that, by the way, you don't have to power the system down to plug in that USB Bluetooth antenna or adapter. That works just fine. Just plugging it in. It's hot, swappable essentially. So I plugged that in, and lo and behold, immediately these two Ruuvi tags show up. Now I've got two different Ruuvi tags. One is for waterproof, and it only does two different readings. It's temperature and motion. And then the other one is for a 4-in-1, and both of them are Ruuvi Tag Pro, by the way. One is a 2-in-1, and I got a 4-in-1 for interior just to test it out. And I probably will get another one. They do make a 3-in-1 as well. I think it doesn't read barometric pressure, but the 4-in-1 reads temperature, barometric pressure, humidity, and motion. So we've got these showing up here, and these are going to have some unique identifier of them right here. But what I wanted to show you is that we can, where it shows up in the display. So let's go back to our overview. You would think maybe it shows here, but it actually shows over in the levels. So now on the environment tab here, these are showing up. So it would be nice to have better names of these, right? So let's go ahead and go in and rename these, so that I'm going to use the one on the left, by the way, is the temperature and the motion. The one on the right is the temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure. And we're going to show in just a minute on the VRM what that looks like there as well. And you can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. But let's go and rename these. So let's go over into settings, and let's go into, right now these will show up in our device list. So we've got Ruuvi Tag and Ruuvi Tag. You can see the one with the two readings here, that's going to be the 4-in-1. The one with the one reading is going to be the 2-in-1. So I'm going to have the 2-in-1 installed outside of the van. So I think I'm going to come into here, and then let's go into setup. And you have a type here, and they've got some built-in types that you can do. So I'm going to choose outdoor for this one. Great. We're going to come back into the main Ruuvi Tags screen there for that device. Let's go into device, and here is where you can put the custom name in. So I'm just going to go with the same thing as the type, or something like, I don't know, I might go with rooftop, something like that. All right, and let's go back to devices. Now we've got rooftop showing up here. That's great, right? And here is going to be the interior one. For right now, I'm going to use this one. I'm dropping it in one of the nets that is in the back where the elevator bed comes down. My dog stays in the front part of the garage right there. He's got his bed there. So I think just putting in that net right now, for right now, will allow me to not have to mount it at the moment, just see how this is going to work out. And I think that's a good distance. You don't want it too close to the floor because the temperature is obviously going to be lower on the floor, like on a hot day or something. It's going to be lower at the bottom of the floor than it will at the top because, well, heat rises. So I think just having it where the bed comes down is going to be good enough for now for me to see how this works. So I'm going to go into setup, and we're going to put this one as a room. All right. And then we go into device, and we're going to name this one. And I think I'll just name this one garage for now. And now we can come all the way back out, go to our levels, and now these are appropriately labeled garage and rooftop. So that's it for this part of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at how that antenna gets installed. Okay, so now we're taking a look inside of the compartment under the adventure bar, and we're looking to the left of the compartment there, and you'll see right on the top is where the Cerbo GX here is installed. I have already plugged in the Bluetooth dongle there into the USB port, the second one in. I had two available USB ports on here, so I chose to use one of those for that. You also see that the antenna is pointing down. I decided to keep it in a vertical position, even though it's upside down. It's okay. That will give it the most range, and from my understanding with this, and I tested it out, and it's pretty fantastic. Prior to, I mentioned earlier, prior to plugging this in, that blue light that's flashing there on the left-hand side of the Cerbo GX there was off completely. And that's how I knew that the Bluetooth that was built in was not working. You may be thinking, just reboot the device and it will probably start working again. No, I tried that multiple times and it did not. So I'm not sure if the Bluetooth is fried or if it was just too hot. It was kind of toasty in there, to be honest, and my guess is it reached a certain threshold and that Bluetooth just is not stable once it gets to that temperature. So this is what it looks like in there. It's pretty easy to just plug that in. These USB ports are just like ones on your computer. I noticed they were quite tight to the ends. What you want to do is just kind of flash a light onto the port to see which side of the port is the open side, and then pair that with the plug, the USB plug from the antenna, to make sure you have it flipped the right way, that you're going into the port the right way before you get started. That will save you a bit of frustration because it's going to be a little tight and you may feel like it's not going to go in, but if you know that you have it turned the right way, then it should just slide right in. You'll want to push it in all the way, and then you can maneuver the antenna the way that you desire for that to be. Let's take a closer look at the Ruuvi products. I am on bluemarine.com. I like this vendor. They seem to have a lot of things for the RV and marine industry and general off-grid use. So I found Ruuvi out here. There's a number of sites that carry Ruuvi products. I did notice that not everything is on Amazon anymore for whatever reason, so I'm not sure if they're pulling out of Amazon or if they're just limited in being able to distribute through Amazon now. But anyways, these are the products that we're looking at here. We've got several different sensors. You'll notice the two on the right here and the one at the beginning. They're all Pro. And there are three different variations. There's a 2-in-1, which is waterproof, and that handles temperature and motion. There's a 3-in-1 that is not waterproof, that handles temperature, humidity, and motion. And then there's a 4-in-1 that adds air pressure or barometric pressure to the mix here. So 3-in-1 and 4-in-1 look almost identical. And they are all exactly the same size, by the way. It's just that you'll notice that on the 2-in-1, it does not have the little extra sensor dot on the top of it there. But other than that, they're all the same form factor. The thing that I like about the Pro versus the non-Pro version is that it's black for one, and they provide a little bit better mounting options. So on the 2-in-1, I'll probably be placing that on the roof rack so that it's outdoors and I can quickly see the outdoor temperature and or detect motion. We'll get into some cool stuff that we can do a little bit later using motion on these. The 4-in-1, as I mentioned, is probably going into my garage just to be able to determine, the temperature and so forth of the garage area, which my dog stays in when I'm not in the van, especially. What I thought about for the non-Pro version, because it doesn't need these mounting options and I don't really care as much about the aesthetic of it, is I thought about this one could be placed inside of the refrigerator and or freezer. So you could add those to the mix there and put it inside, and that way you don't have to just depend on the dial setting, because I think the temperature is going to fluctuate inside of the fridge and humidity and so forth depending on your climate that you're in and how hard it's having to work, how often the compressor is running in the refrigerator. So that's a good use case for that. You may think of more there. There's 3 other products that they have listed out here. First one is just a silicone case for the non-Pro version, and then there is a stand for the non-Pro version as well. I can see that more of an application for at home, setting it on a dresser in a room or something like that to be able to have the temperature in there, or a garage or something like that. Now, what is the Ruuvi Gateway router? This is not necessary in the setup that I am sharing with you now, but you could, if you wanted to, leverage the Ruuvi Gateway router. And what it does is it allows the Bluetooth devices to connect to it via Bluetooth, but yet this is connected to your internet, and it will talk to their Ruuvi cloud platform, so that your data is logged in their cloud and you can access that information remotely. So if we didn't have the ability to tap this into Cerbo GX and the VRM portal, we would need something like this in order to be able to read and see the temperature and all the various sensor data remotely, because if we get out of Bluetooth range with the mobile app, which we'll go through in just a minute, called Ruuvi Station, if we're not within Bluetooth range, we won't be able to read that data in the setup that I'm showing you today. But we're able to do that and get around that by leveraging the VRM portal, which is the remote management for Victron there. So you could leverage this and leave Victron out of the picture, and VRM portal and Cerbo GX and all that out of the picture. But that's a pretty hefty price tag just to get access to use their cloud service to remotely view the data. So let's take a quick look at the mobile app. So I have got that on my screen now, and you can see that it is not showing current data on this because I'm sitting in front of my computer and the van is a little too far away for Bluetooth connectivity. But if I were to walk towards the van and get a little closer, you would be able to see this in real time. But you see I've got both sensors here showing up. I've named them in the mobile app here, NV Quick Sensor 2-in-1 and NV Quick Sensor 4-in-1. And if I go, you've got a little view configuration up here where you could look at simple cards or just a little bit more pretty image view of it, and then you can choose what opens up in the next view when you touch one of these, whether you want to see the sensor data or you want to see the history, and I'll show you both of those in just a second. So I'm going to tap on the 2-in-1 here first, and you can see a nice screen, just nice visuals showing the temperature of this and how many different motion detections it has had so far since it's come online. And in the bottom right hand corner, how long ago it was before it read the last data. Again, that would be more real time. Every few seconds it polls. If I was closer and in Bluetooth range, it would come up to current time. Now up at the top right, you've got a gear that you can come in, and you've got various settings and so forth and alerts that you can set. And again, these are fantastic, but in the configuration we have without the gateway router, these notifications and alerts are really only going to work if you're within Bluetooth range, and it will handle it that way. That being said, you do have some various configurations that you can use here, and you can also check the firmware version and update the firmware of the devices in here as well. So that's a real nice feature. Back on this screen, I could go back, use the top left arrow to get back to the home, or I could just swipe to the right and see the 4-in-1. So that's a nice way to toggle back and forth, and you'll see that this one, the only difference in the 4-in-1 is that it is showing also the humidity, which is currently 42.24% in the van, and then the barometric pressure. And I meant to show you this back in the settings here. You can choose the various units that you want to use. So in this case, the air pressure, we've got it set up to be HPA. And I think that is, I thought it was right there, but maybe it was somewhere else where I configured that. But there was, oh, I know where it was. It was back at the beginning. In the menu, you've got app settings in here, and you can choose your different units. So temperature, you can toggle between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Humidity, you can do relative or absolute or dew point. And in the pressure, you can change that to between hectopascal and inch of mercury or millimeter of mercury. So I have it set like this for now, and then the same thing for there. So you'll also notice that there's Ruuvi Cloud here, and this is where you can leverage their services again to see that stuff remotely. I'll show you one other thing. Let's go back into the detail of the 4-in-1 here, and you'll notice up at the top right there is a graph looking symbol. Back when we were on the main page where we could choose which view we go into by default when we click off of the initial list of sensors, this is the other option. You got some really nice graphs here that you can look at and see what all's going on with these. And again, I can swipe to the left and right here and see those different sensors that you have. So the more sensors you add, the more you can see here. But it's fantastic, and click the thermometer just to get back to the simple view there. But that is the mobile app. So now let's go to their website, and I have logged in with my account here, and you can see that I have my sensors here, but there's no data. That is because we do not have a gateway. And you may say, well, we have internet. Well, we do, but it's not talking to their system, their cloud platform. That gateway is making API calls back and forth with the gateway's calling their APIs on the cloud to send data and get information back and so forth. That's not there, so we can't see them, but you can see here that a very similar experience would be able to be accessed via your browser or browser on a mobile device or something like that as well. Again, we won't be using that, but I just have a Ruuvi free account right now, and that's all I'm going to need for this solution. Now, let's get into some fun stuff. Let's go into the VRM portal. Right now, I'm already logged in to VRM portal, and I see my system. You should be familiar with this, at least at some level. There is a lot in here that you can do, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, but I figured some of you might really be interested in some of these more advanced features within here, especially considering the sensors that we now have. Notice that they are showing up over here. I can expand these out, and I have everything that I expect to be coming from that sensor. So I've got my temperature reading, I've got my minimum and max temperature within the last 24 hours. That's pretty cool. Relative humidity, it's already dropped down to 41. I think it was 42 when we were looking in the mobile app. And there's barometric pressure, and then when the last update was made. Same thing for the one that we labeled rooftop, but it's just going to be the temperature in this case because it only measures temperature and motion. So what can we do here? Really cool stuff. So we can go over here in the advanced page, and you may have gone in here before and saw some really cool data. If you're on your desktop and looking at this, it's just really cool. You can also use the VRM mobile app to get to some of this, but this area here is a little bit more cumbersome on a mobile device, but it is fantastic when it comes to your desktop and zooming and seeing features and different data points at different points in time. So notice that we are getting real time because I am connected to the internet and so forth on the van, so it's relaying all this information. But we got a plethora of information that's here already. Yours may vary here because I've done some configuration myself here. And I'll show you where we can do that. So we've got the two new sensors, and I on purpose did not set this up in here so that I can demo this to you, but we can come into the widgets here and notice that we've got like the gateway here, we've got the VE bus, Victron Energy bus, and here it's relaying all this information. We've got our smart shunt, and it is not relaying a lot of information. I probably should turn that one on, right? So we can see some data from that. So let's go ahead and enable that. I know it's out of scope of what we're talking about here, but when you enable one of these widgets and you tell it to, show all the data and give me the advanced information, that should have added it down to the bottom here. So now we see MV Smart Shunt, and we've got all kinds of data here that is now able to be seen in reports and so forth. So this is really cool kind of view that you can leverage to see a lot of this stuff. So let's go back in here and let's go down to the temperature sensors. They're there already. So I've got garage and I've got rooftop already here. So let's expand those out and let's enable. So we should be able to see the temperature information for this one. And on rooftop, we should see temperature as well. Now, for whatever reason, it's not getting all of the data that sensor is sending here within this. My guess is over time that will enable more data points to be logged from these. But for right now, that's what you get in this advanced view. So let's close that out now, and we'll scroll down to the bottom, and we should see those two showing. We do. There we go. So there's my history over the last little while on this. And I can look and see all kinds of stuff. Temperature, humidity, pressure. Oh, that's kind of cool. It said that it was only logging temperature, but yet in the graph itself, it does have humidity and pressure. So that's pretty cool. Maybe they're just sending all three bits of information in that one data point as a complex object or something. Sorry to geek out a little bit there, but that's my background is programming. So I can see how they were doing that. That's really cool. So we've got all the data that we want here on this, and each of these widgets have ways to come in and show the ranges and all kinds of cool stuff like that you can do. You can also expand these out to full screen, and you get a nice big view at the top of that as well, so that you can look at more information there. So I thought that might be a nice thing to show everybody on that. The other thing I want to show you is that you can actually come into settings here, and we can go to alarm rules. Let's say I want to do something or know about when the temperature gets out of a certain range. Let's say my dog is in the van and I'm going out on a hike that he can't go on, and I want to make sure that the temperature, let's say it's a hot day and I'm running the AC for him, I want to know if that changes from what I would expect it to be, and I want to be notified of that. So we can come in here and we can, now that we've got all this data coming in, we can actually leverage that to set up alarms. So I'm going to add a new alarm rule. let's choose the device. I should see my sensors in here. So there's my garage and there's my rooftop. So let's use the garage because that's where my dog is going to be. And we'll go next. And we'll choose which parameter we want to trigger the alarm off of. So in this case, we want to do temperature. So I'll choose temperature. We'll go next. And I want it to stay within a certain range. So I'm going to do a low range of, yeah, he should be okay down to about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And he should be okay. I don't love it, but I'll just put in 80 degrees here. He could probably be fine up to 85 or so. But for right now, just to illustrate how this feature works, we'll put in a high of 80. And you can also choose when to clear the alarms. Let's say that the AC had a blip on it, or maybe I set the thermostat wrong on the AC. But I can remotely do that as well because I've got my van connected to the internet. I can use the GREE app to go in and change the thermostat on that. So let's say I messed up and I had the thermostat set to 85. And it was nice and cool when I started the hike, but it's gotten hotter during the day, right? So I noticed that I get an alarm that says, hey, it's over 80 degrees in there. What's going on? Well, I can now log into my GREE app and I can change the thermostat on the AC to make sure that the compressor is running and it is staying cool in there. All right, so we'll go next here now. And oh, I'm sorry, I got to put in these here. So I want to clear the alarm when it is above 45 and when it is below 80. So, well, we can probably do those off 1 degree or something like that. Let's do 79 on this one. Okay, so we'll go next on this. And we'll notify, this is kind of like a threshold of how long it needs to be in the crossing the threshold state before it notifies me. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and do 60 seconds. So that's 1 minute. If it's outside of the threshold for longer than a minute, it's going to notify me. So I'll go ahead and save. And now I've got that new alarm in here. And I can come in here at this point, look at it, I can delete it. But that is a really simple way to get notified when something is off, or outside of the normal here. So you can just imagine what you could do with this, and it's fantastic. So I thought I would show you guys that. Okay, so what I have done is I have simulated a situation where the temperature rose above the threshold that we set in the alarm for this. So now the temperature has gone up and an alarm has popped up right here within the VRM. Now, notice at the bottom here that there is alarm notification settings per user. If you hover over this, it'll tell you in your VRM user profile, make sure to enable either email notifications, push notifications, or both. You're like, what? Ooh, exploding head here. You can do that? Yeah, you can do that. So we're going to go back all the way to our home in here, and then we can go to preferences, and then I will switch this over to notifications. And what you see here is where you can enable web push notifications. And now what this is that's going to actually be able to send you push notifications on your mobile device if you have the VRM app installed, but you don't have to have the app open. So you're going to get a push notification there. That is really the bomb right there. But I like to also get an email whenever there's an error that happens. So I have set up my email as well for this. And then we can do a test notification here, and I'll click this, and I should receive an email. I get a success here that it was successfully sent. And yep, sure enough, I now have an email, which I will show you. And it just came in here, and it tells me that the temperature sensor for the garage has gone up. Now this does show it in Celsius. That is the one caveat to this. It looks like they are not respecting our preferences on the sensor. So this is more of Victron thing versus respecting settings that are in the Ruuvi app, so it doesn't know that our preference is Fahrenheit in the notifications area. So that's the only kind of drawback that I see from this, but I can go here and click on it and see the actual alarms, which I will do now. So we'll just click on that, and that'll open up a new tab here, and it brings us right back to this page where we have the alarms. Now, but wait, there's more. So let's go over here and let's go into the alarm logs. If you haven't seen this area, this is a log history of all of your alarms that you've had to date, and that is great to know. And there is our current one that is showing. It is temperature sensor for the garage, and it is currently active. It's not been dismissed yet, so I could click this and dismiss it. I can also go into event logs here, and this is a little bit more advanced here, but we can look up on what day and time and so forth things happened and what was changed. This is more of what happened inside of VRM. So if you can't remember what you changed and when you changed it, this is also a good area to go in and look at and say, oh yeah, oh, I didn't mean to do that, so let me go and fix that. You know, that's a great way to do that. So hope that helps with the notifications and maybe kind of brings full circle the power of all this. I think that's pretty much it. So we'll recap through here in the remote console. I've got the temperatures showing up here, the humidity and so forth in here of both of the tags. We've connected a better Bluetooth situation for better use of devices like these sensors, and I hope this helps many of you out. Hopefully this will evolve over time, and if you have any questions or see anything that could be better on this, please let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Thanks. Have a good one.